Hi, APB guests. Thank you so much for joining us for Behind the Build, powered by APB Partners. Whether you're tuning in live or watching this replay, we're so glad to have you here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicole, the Partnerships Manager here at APB, and this series is all about taking you behind the scenes with our trusted industry partners. As you can see, I am joined this morning with Carl Taylor. Good morning, Carl. How are you?
Good morning, Nicole. How are you?
Good, thank you. And Nathan from our projects, one of our builders. How are you, Nathan?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Nicole.
It's good. I say good morning, but you could be watching this at any time of the day or in any country. So thanks so much for joining, guys. Now, what we're doing today is we have Carl Taylor joining us from CBS Cooperative. If you're not familiar, Carl's going to run you through exactly who they are, but they are one of APB's preferred partners that we recommend to our builders. And Nathan is one of our amazing APB members who's been a part of APB for quite a long time, as well as being connected to Carl and utilizing his services. So I think to kickstart this conversation today, guys, I want to chat about what builders are going to take away from learning about how a buying group, a building co-op like CBS can benefit builders just like Nathan, and what that tangibly looks like in the running of their company. So before we dive into that, Carl, I want to ask, I would love you to give more of an introduction into who you are, where this started, and what you do to assist builders.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So if we cast back around about probably 20 years, I was your typical builder. I started off with contracting to group builders, and I had these massive aspirations to grow quite big. So I was probably doing 10 or 15 labor-only builds for your supermarket builders, let's call them that. And so as that went by, I wanted to sort of branch out and do my own builds. So my own spec builds, my own renovations, and sort of grow my own building business. But as the years went by, I grew. I think at our largest, we had about 25 staff, and that was really cool. It seemed like we were making money, but the reality was that we weren't making any money at all. And that was mainly because we just couldn't compete because we couldn't buy building materials for the same price as the large guys. And that was just what it was. We couldn't compete. We could compete on labor, but we couldn't compete on building materials. So around about 8 years ago, four of us got together, four founding members, and we thought if we could get three or four builders together and combine our building power, then we might be able to offer that to the wider market. So we launched CBS Cooperative here in New Zealand with the goal originally of only having around about 100 members. And we're now looking down the barrel of 2,100 members here in New Zealand. And we are now one of the largest purchasers of building materials in New Zealand. So what that means is that the small guy can join us. They can purchase their materials for the same as the big guys and now finally compete. It's as simple as that. It really is.
I love that. And I think that for the small guys, we call them, like you said, the biggest cost to companies are their materials and their suppliers, and it feels like there's no wiggle room in what that looks like and how they can change and adjust that. They think, well, this is how it is, so I'm never going to be able to become profitable. I can't make it work because I can't adjust these prices. But that's not the reality. I want to throw to Nathan now. And if you don't mind, Nathan, I'd love to hear a bit of an introduction on how you started as I know you're a builder, a bit of background on yourself and your company as well.
Yeah, cool. Our projects, we started in 2019, just before the global pandemic, so that was great. We're focused on residential projects predominantly, almost exclusively, unless one of our valued clients, has a side project. Some of our clients own cafes and businesses, so we've helped them do fit outs, but we do residential stuff predominantly in Auckland and Waikato. So that's where we are, and we're just a relatively small company. I think 7 employees, and the rest, using subbies and and subcontractors being required. But yeah, just focused on doing good quality renovations and new builds for our valued clients.
Amazing.
I noticed with one of your businesses, Nathan, when I was going through your website, and of course you've been a member with our organisation for a couple of years. But what stood out to me is one of the projects that you do is golf simulators, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it's something that we sort of had this bright spark. I think it was sort of late last year, and I've been working hard to develop the product. And actually, this morning at 12:30 a.m., we had our first client sign up to our first build. So yeah, looking forward to building custom golf simulator rooms for clients too.
Yeah, and it's good to be able to diversify your business, isn't it? And most builders these days tend to do that. They tend to shift their business from, they might be building 4 or 5 homes a year. The market changes. They then need to flick over to doing bathrooms or renos or fence or decks. In your case, it sounds like you've found a niche in doing golf simulators. So
Yeah.
I take my hat off to that forward thought and doing that. So what does your ideal client look like in the marketplace?
To be honest, we've always serviced any client from I mean, it's literally people have issues with their doors not swinging properly, through to major renovations or custom new builds. But our ideal client is essentially someone who wants to know that they're in good hands, want to work through the challenges that the site might present, whether it's constraints around coverage area or whatever it is, but they really want to be a part of that journey. So we really like clients that understand that building is not a cookie cutter exercise. There's plenty of operators out there that offer the cookie cutter solution. But yeah, we're targeting clients that really want something bespoke, to their site. And bespoke doesn't mean expensive. It just means tailored to what your situation is. We've had clients who, live in a modest, suburb, and their family's expanding, and they wanted to build a secondary dwelling on the rear of their property, and we help them, develop a solution that's sensible for them. And it's sort of well before, minor dwellings became a popular buzzword of recent times.
It appears to. The builders I talk to, and I talk to dozens and dozens of builders a week, there appears to be mixed messaging out there as to what the market's doing and how it's shifting. And I know the guys that do leverage their business, like I touched on before, are doing quite well. Have you found the market shift, or how have you pivoted your business with the shifting market? I know we touched on the golf things, but what do you see your pipelines look like for say the next 12 months?
Yeah, well, the next 12 months, we're seeing the bigger projects come back online. There's a lot of hesitancy over the last 2 years about that, but we definitely made a deliberate pivot to smaller jobs, just putting a little bit more energy and refining our processes around being able to respond to those clients. Hey, I've just got a small bathroom. I just want it to be a nice, cozy space for me to, be in. And we're like, we don't say no to those jobs, So yeah, if we can help you, we can, tailor it to your budget, and try and maximize the value for you as a client. So I would say 100% we've had to move to, the more, smaller type jobs. But the way that we built our business and the way we've designed our business is we can be responsive to a client, whether it's $30,000-$40,000 bathroom through to a $2 million reclad or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's good. And so you've been a CBS member now for about 2 years, and obviously a member of APB a little bit longer. What made you join CBS initially?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've always known about group buying, probably from my background association with farming. So obviously there's the big one in New Zealand is farmlands, where that's actually a cooperative where each person purchasing as a shareholder in the business. But actually what triggered it for me was a client of mine who's a good friend of mine as well. Basically, we were doing a small job for him, but I said, here's the invoice, here's the breakdown of costs, and the classic situation he's like, oh, you're getting your timber at this rate. Like, I can buy that timber cheaper than you through the company that I work for. And he works for Fisher and Paykel Healthcare. They're not even in construction, right? And you're like, how is this possible? And so it just really made me think, oh, there has to be something out there for us. And I think maybe you guys just started kicking off your marketing, or, the machine was listening to me somewhere along the way and started throwing up CBS marketing. And I thought, you know what, let's give it a go. And the joining fee is, it's not even a fee really when you consider the context of, what you save on behalf of the clients.
And it just comes down to volume, right? And you're a small builder, and just, you're a merchant. You think you're being looked after by your current merchant, but the fact of the matter is generally you don't. So they flick you off that price, and unless you're doing that volume, you just don't get looked after, eh?
Yeah, that's true enough. I mean, we've always actually used independent merchants. So, for instance, in Auckland, we don't actually use any of the big Fletcher or other group, suppliers, as it were. But there is an advantage of having access to the buying power of some of those bigger ones, because there's a convenience factor of being able to go to a local hardware outfit. So we just seemed like a no-brainer to have access to this group buying through CDS.
So how were you handling your supplier pricing prior to joining both our organisations?
So we have a specific process where we go through a quantity survey for all of our clients to give them certainty of price. So when it comes to material pricing, it's based on our QS's, database in terms of material costs and those sorts of things. But yeah, we would go to, the local merchant and get them to give us a pricing list, and you almost had to look at it sideways and go, is that good pricing? Like, what did we get last time? And why did we get a good price last time on that particular material? Let's call it 4x2. Why is it that now and not that before? And you just didn't get that consistency, and it depended on, your relationship with the rep, and other factors that come around it. How, did you happen to see the price of lineal meter for whatever last week? And then you go, actually, I thought it was cheaper there, So yeah, it was a bit ad hoc.
And building a building business, I mean, your typical builder isn't necessarily just building as you've not only do you have to be good at your trade, your building, you've also got to be good at negotiations with your clients, with your suppliers. You've got to be good at marketing, and generally, because I fall in that category too. I believed I was good at building, but I didn't know how to negotiate, and I certainly didn't know how to do my marketing, or actually get my business to where it should have been. And I guess that's where APBs come in good for you too, with your coaching and all that. And when you combine all that together, your business knowledge, your building materials, and your marketing, your coaching, you sort of head in the right direction, aren't you? And it helps your business, it helps you grow with your systems and your procedures and all those things. That would be fair to say too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, ultimately, when you're in the position that I am, running a construction company, you soon realise that actually being a good builder isn't one of the prerequisites for running a good construction company. The advantage of having the trade background or the skill set is you can see when someone's trying to pull a fast one on you, especially on site. You're like, mate, I've done that before. That doesn't take 3 days. That takes half a day, kind of thing. But that's about the limit. And so when it comes to running a construction company, and the value that we have is through APB is, taught us, the fundamentals of marketing, taught us the fundamentals of systemization, taught us the fundamentals of optimization. And so through that process, you end up seeking out someone like CBS. You go, actually, I can steal a bit more margin here, or I can provide a bit more value for my client by looking at the specific area. And, cost of purchasing in New Zealand is extreme. Like some of our international APB members just would have no clue how expensive it is to build in New Zealand versus, somewhere like the United States or North America. It's, we're really at a disadvantage, and we have to find a way to push back. And I think that's where the group buying comes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in our market, both in New Zealand and Australia, the poor old tradie, if he can't move on his pricing, the first thing he does is moves on his labour rate, on his hourly rate. He goes from, I don't know, from $55 an hour or whatever it might be. I don't know what the current rate is. You know, he knocks it down by 10 bucks an hour just to secure the job. But little does he know that really affects that bottom line. And
oh, yeah, I mean, one thing we're coached on in APB, and I don't think it's any secret, but the best builders are doing 10% net margin. And actually the amount of builders that are only achieving 10% net margin across the industry is very, very small. So when you're talking about having to provide a 10-year warranty for that kind of work, you have to fight for every margin you can get. Every percent makes you a sustainable, reputable business when you fight for those margins.
You've made a really good point there. A lot of builders don't realize how much risk they actually carry. And it's really, really scary, particularly 10 years. And it's not so much about the guarantees, but it's how long you're on the hook for. So you've got to factor that into your pricing.
Absolutely. I say often to clients that get a bit squirrely, and I don't say it loosely, but the ones that, you're building a bit of trust with, I say to them, if you can find me another product out there where you get a 10-year warranty for a 10% net margin, I'll give you $1 million. And it's said in jest essentially, but if you go to any of the large consultants, they're charging $150 an hour on a cost of a third, so they're looking at least 30% net margin, right? And you see, okay, maybe Air New Zealand's not a great example, but there's other corporate examples where they're like, there's not a lot of margin, and the only ones that creep around at 10% net margin are probably fast-moving consumer goods. And when you're selling a chocolate bar, the warranty's done, it's been eaten, you know what I mean? But we have to sit back and, trust that the processes that we've put in place will be there, and that building will last well beyond the 10-year, because even though we've got a 10-year warranty, the client's expectations are 50-year performance.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's certainly a risky game, but that's why we do it. We love it. So we get in there doing
every builder probably loves a good day at the races.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So would it be fair to say that CBS has helped improve your margins over and above your building materials then?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I should say I know so, but the way that we approach our clients is not really margin driven directly, but I think it helps me stand up and say to my clients, I'm fighting for you. Like, I'm here to work with you on this, and we belong to this group buying, organization, which is going to help us bring better value to you. And so you just have confidence that you can just stand up and say, actually, as much as the next guy, I'm here fighting for you.
I've never heard a builder say that to a client. That's a fantastic script, actually. I mean, how many builders actually say, I'm here to fight for you? Because normally they're just there for the deal. So that's a fantastic one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in the name. That's what the premise on what we built the company was. In our projects, we wanted a collaborative approach to construction. We really wanted to work with the client. And if we can't sell, a client on a 10% margin, if they want to come harder at us and say, actually, you know what, that's not good enough. I want more of your pie. So, well, sorry, I'm not the right guy for you, because you're asking for me to cut corners, or you're asking me to do something that's just not possible. You should accept that here I am working hard for my margin.
Yeah. So has CBS given you more confidence in that case when it comes to pricing jobs? Yeah. You can compete, right? You know that when you're going in to meet your client, that hand on heart, you can say to them that you are going to get my pricing and I'm going to pass that on to you. Obviously, you're going to add your margin on top of that, but that's what you have to do.
So that's what it's there for. But 100% we do it. And to be honest, it gets to the point where I'm actually confident that we can still beat cookie cutters. We can give the same value to a client for the same price as a cookie cutter or group home builder, and okay, so they might do a 200 square meter home, and you might have to do a 180 square meter home. for the same price, but our one's going to look better. We're going to be able to stand by it when you have issues. We're going to be able to come back to you and say, yeah, no problem. We can fix it. We're still here, you know?
Yeah. That's one thing I've always believed too. I mean, the group builders have certainly got a place in the market, but I don't think the market actually understands that quite often, if the end consumer actually goes to that small independent builder, not only will they generally get a better product, they'll get a better service because they've actually got the relationship with that small builder. And in turn, they just get a better deal at the end of the day. And that's one of the things I've banged on for years. But it's really hard to change the market to actually think like that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. You know, you
Yeah.
look at the how people perceive things. Like, oh, I'll get a Fletcher home, you know, for all intents and purposes. But Fletchers have their own financial challenges too. You know what I mean? Like they're not immune to it in the same way that if you find a good, you know, independent, reputable builder, they'll be able to provide similar experience, if not exceed your expectation. So there's safety in the type of builders that, you know, have professional memberships, you know, like certified builders, that have professional memberships with Association of Professional Builders, and also, you know, are out there working with CDS. You know, there's a certain reputation that should be attached with those types of builders.
And it's a funny industry, the building industry. It's a little bit like I probably compare it to real estate a little bit. It's very easy to make it look like you're doing well. In other words, you can't judge a book by its cover, can you? Because, you know, how many builders do you see driving around in their brand new Ford Rangers or brand new Utes or whatever? They've got 10 staff and they look like they're doing really well, but 2 years later, when you read the news, someone tips up. It's a bit of a worry in the marketplace, isn't it?
Well, there's a secret squirrel thing for that, and that's been smashed into us by APB, and that's your whipper. So if you want to know about it, you get involved in APB, and you'll figure out why you can't afford a brand new ute in the first year.
That's it. Yeah, your work in progress. It's about that. Nathan's obviously really familiar with it, but that's what it's about, understanding your numbers and the timing and the cash flow and like you said, the risk of that margin percentage and shifting that. And it is a risky game, and obviously there's a lot of positives to that, to it. And when it's done right, it can be done really well. But at the same time, you know, you've got a lot of cash that you're managing of the costs of these materials, building the home, and it makes you think, like you said, feels like you're doing really well and we're building these homes. But at the end of the day, you go, hang on a second, how have I only taken home this much? And I've spent, you know, over 12 months on this build and all this time. And then you start to realize that you're not comparing the same, you know, apples with apples because you've got these rose-colored glasses on. And sometimes you can, like you said, we're whipping around in these work cars and we go, oh, I probably should understand my numbers before I understand that. And I love what you said before, Nathan, about where you're pricing your jobs and having a buying group like CBS who you're shifting the variable of being able to change that profit margin, which was I will change my margins, I'll change what I'm pricing us at our hourly rate because that's all that I can shift. I can't change this of my costs, but that's not the truth. I can utilize the strength I have in utilizing CBS and a buying power in a group setting as what I can shift here, which is giving the client the lowest price that I possibly can. And like you said, it's collaborative, which I would agree, it's a different perspective to have. And I love that you said as well, we're going to work together and I'm doing my best to get us the best price because that's both the best benefit for the client and you. But if you're asking me to shift my margins, my cost of my team, we're not the right fit for each other because that's putting risk on me and you. Because what's that going to do when you're giving someone a home? It's a massive purchase. And I think we can forget that this is sometimes people don't even get to do this in their lifetime in this day and age. let alone, oh, I did it right this time, I'll try again and see how I go my next build. That's not always the case, especially for a custom home, especially working with a small to medium-sized custom home designer. So it is really important that we're putting client first, but also business first. It needs to be a team effort, which I think is a really good point you made. Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to throw in there, Carl? Sorry, I just wanted to add my 2 cents
Oh
in.
no, I think I think the biggest thing for me today, and I've actually written it down, is as Nathan said to his client, "I will fight for you." I mean, that is absolute gold. I think that's a really gold nugget, that one. And I think when you say that to your client, you will naturally just pick up that work. And just sort of circling back to the old can't judge a book by its cover. I used to pick up more work when I was building, just turning up in my rough van with my dog on the passenger seat, than what I would turning up on my brand new Ford Ranger. And 9 times out of 10, I'd pick that work up. Little did they know, I'd go home and hop in my Ford Ranger anyway.
I don't need to know.
But they don't need to know that.
Yeah, look, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's these days people expect a level of professionalism. So
Yeah.
I think gone are the days. So
Yeah.
I think gone are the days of turning up in an unwarranted, falling apart. But, it doesn't have to be brand new. I mean, we buy secondhand for all our vehicles, but they're presented right. It actually comes down to, how, like, did you turn up on time was probably almost the more important factor. So.
I think that's a really good point. It's about that professionalism of where the priorities lie. A lot of builders will be like, I need to look the best, but really, I don't care what you're pulling up in if you're not even on the schedule that you told me.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about. And I think if you asked clients what type of builder you want, someone that prioritizes your needs collaboratively, is true to their word and punctual, and like I want to work with a builder who understands their numbers, who isn't going to be putting themselves out. And I can speak from personal experience. I'm not a builder, but I have built a home, and one of the builders I inquired with started getting plans drawn up. Next minute their website was down. I didn't know how to get in contact and they disappeared. And I was like, well, hang on a second. When we were talking, it wasn't even obviously a mention. It's not something you're going to tell clients, or we're not in a good space, right? It's not something you're going to tell them. But there is comfort in speaking to a builder where you can be transparent, like you do, Nathan, saying, I just want you to know I'm a part of the buying group. I utilize these resources like CBS because that's prioritizing both of us. I am a part of APB or another association. I'm already that tells clients, oh, they actually are looking internally and they're setting themselves in a good tone. And I don't think that that's something that I really want to see change in the industry, is on the consumer side, clients and home owners and who are getting builders understanding the value of builders that are putting that effort in, and what the difference is between someone like Nathan, who is a part of an association, a part of CBS, versus a builder who isn't doing their due diligence. Because it can be hard to tell the difference. And clients don't know, well, what's the difference between this association and that association? I don't know what it means. But the next minute you got someone going belly up and someone else who's being really consistent. It's not something I looked for when I was looking for a builder at the time. I didn't even think about, I just thought, well, everything looks shiny and pretty and the homes they build look awesome. They seem like a good fit for me. But you don't realize, thinking about it now, but they probably weren't looking at those numbers, or I don't know if they were using a buying group. These are the things that I think are really important to be transparent about.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just say one more thing? Nathan, after 2 years as a member, what would you say to another builder who's sitting on the fence in New Zealand or Australia about joining CBS?
Don't sit on the fence.
Yeah.
It's very easy. The membership is simple. I mean, like I said to you, we still use our independent timber supplier. We still get a benefit from only sending a small proportion of our work through, but I have confidence that at scale, if we need to, get more demand from our merchants, I can do that using our relationship with CBS. Don't waste time.
Absolutely.
I love that. And you're leaving money on the table is what I'd say. I just cannot see any reason anyone like something as big as your company and the biggest expenses you're having in your company. I buy something online and I'm looking for a discount code. I'm searching all over the web to see if I can purchase, some clothes at a discounted rate. Why aren't you doing the same in your company by utilizing these resources who could actually get you better rates and better investments? So there's some really good points in there, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. I want to say thank you, Carl, for adding in your expertise in why you got into this field. And I can really see the passion and importance of representing the little guys, like you said, because they're the ones that are holding a lot more risk personally. So thank you for jumping on and sharing that. Nathan, you're an amazing member of ours and of CBS, but you are also just an amazing builder and someone that I think a lot of builders can look up to in what you're implementing in terms of making it collaborative and caring about your clients as well, just those fundamentals. That's not something we've taught you at APB. I think that you've really taken your own personal input of why you want to, like you said, it's been our projects, which is awesome. So thank you for your time today and for jumping on. I'm going to wrap up by saying if anyone watching this wants to get in touch with CBS, they are an official partner of APB. They are a part of our rewards directory. So if you're not familiar, our directory is a partner directory where you can find all of our trusted providers and access exclusive cash rebates. The link will be below so you can get in contact with Carl and start chatting to them as well. And if you have any questions for Nathan, you want to ask him about what he's doing in his company, be sure to reach out to anyone at APB. We'd be happy to put you in touch. Thank you both again so much for your time, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day planned.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nicole.
You too.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much, everyone.
Cheers.
See ya.